Hello, everybody. Today we are talking about my favorite topic, right sizing, and a full system reboot. As a matter of fact, Carolina, in today's episode, we're going to reveal that the heaviest clutter might not be in your basement.
Yay.
It might be your in your calendar or your inner circle, or maybe even your invisible attic. So, welcome to
Mm,
the show, everybody. And Carolina,
yes,
let's
darling.
start with the house, right? The biggest anchor, if you will, for our right sizing. And is there something that comes to mind for you when you talk about your house? Does it anchor you to the past, to the present? What's going on in Carolina land?
Ooh, oh boy. You need to be this soul to come onto that ride. Um, well, I love change. I thrive on change. I understand. I am strange in that in many regards. So I have had the blessing of being able to live many personas through my house. The last one, funny enough, I am in a historical Victorian village not far from you. And when my fiance, or my boyfriend, who became my husband, who became an ex-husband, first drove by this historical village, I remember looking at these homes and thinking, my God, like they look like Anne of Green Gables. Like, who can have a problem living in those homes, right? And lo and behold, when I got divorced, and a couple of things happened, and I live in one of those homes. In fact, I live in almost a replica of the one that I saw that people didn't have any
Mhm.
problems, needless to say.
So you've
uh,
had the luxury of moving a
so it's
couple of
almost like
times at
I
least.
move and I live my persona, right? Like the next chapter, especially since powerful women today began after my divorce. I have been able to really embody just like that part of my personality, that part of my life. So to answer your question, living in this beautiful, charmed, white picket fence, idealistic home has been a fulfillment of a dream, and I'm grateful I got to live here for 10 years. But now it just no longer fits my reality.
Hmm. So you're on the cusp of a right size, possibly. And you know
Yes, and
what?
we have something exciting to share. I know I just jumped in there, but just give me a little grace, everyone. So I tried to sell my home last year, and Renee and I did not know each other at the time. Big mistake. Tried to sell my home without knowing Renee. Anyways, it didn't go well, and we'll get into why it didn't go well for on another episode, and it's directly linked to my gorgeous book, Party of One. Plug. But um it just didn't work because there's a science to it. There's a science to letting go. So this year, this is it. I am trying it again under the tutelage and mentorship of the right sizing queen herself,
Hmm.
Renee.
Is Renee up to the challenge? We shall find out. I'm sure I am. Now, you've had the benefit though, because you've moved every decade or so, that you've done a probably a purge, right? You've got rid of what you were no longer using, what you were no longer excited about, right? So, but for the people that haven't moved in 30 or 40
Mm,
years, it gets a little daunting about it's almost like many folks are not everybody, but typically if you're in your home for a long time, you're actually living in a museum of your past life.
wow.
It's like the family that you raised, who probably moved out by now. The museum of that life is all around you, and that keeps people anchored into the past. And so what we want to do is we want to, okay, what are the things that truly I am no longer using in my life? Can I let those things go? And I always say, if you're not displaying something, or if something isn't useful, or if it's not something that you truly cherish, then why are we holding on to it? So right-sizing our home is the main anchor point where we start to, okay, what season of life am I in now? And what around me is not supporting that season of life? I remember so many people actually that I work with have, if you can believe this, 3 sets of china, right? They have their wedding set, they have their parents set, and oftentimes they'll have a grandparent set or an aunt or
Nothing gets
something like
used.
that.
And
It-
nothing gets used, right? Like use your
That's
good
right.
china, people. Use the good towels. Life is short.
That's right. That's right. So, do you have anything in your home that you have from uh, that you've inherited or passed down from someone that said, "Hold on to this. This is important for the family." That you're looking at it and going, "I don't know. Is this really something that means something to me?"
Well, so I am a bad example for that. My luggage is not physical. And I'm sure we'll get into that. Sorry, that laughter came a little too honest. Um, so part of the reason why I love change is because from the time I was very little, I moved a lot. I changed schools a lot. I changed countries a lot. I changed homes a lot. So change to me is exciting, right? However, the 18 years that I was married and the 10 years that I've been in this house has been the longest that I've been in one spot,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And in this house is it's not so much things that have been with me for a very long time, but they're things that have been with me at very important times because I got them as part of individuation, or I got them as a milestone, or, I, yeah. So letting go of them is difficult. It's difficult because of what it represents, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so there's a lot of, well, it took me a year to get ready to move on. So in a book, um, it is difficult, and we're speaking of a person that thrives on change. So
Mm-hmm.
imagine people that don't, right? it
Mm-hmm.
must be it must be, I don't know, just overwhelming. Even, how do you even begin?
Mhm. Especially too when it's tied into a identity, right? Like what you were just talking about. I remember working with a woman who she was a track star in college. She was a beauty queen as well. And I remember going to her house and she had this huge glass trophy case filled with
Yeah.
trophies and medals and tiara and all that.
And
And
doesn't,
she just couldn't let it go. And
but
so
does she have to?
she does. She does because it was
Oh,
massive. It was massive, and she was moved. The goal is to move into something a lot more manageable. And so she has one child, and that child, of course, did not really care for mother's trophies. And so, it came to a point where we said, well, a suggestion I gave her was, you could have like take a nice cheeky photo with it whole, get them all in your arms, have all the medals around your neck, tiara on, and a goofy look on your face, and take a photo, and then put that photo in a gorgeous frame and proudly put that, in a prominent display in a prominent
yeah.
place in your home. Because what it does is when someone comes to visit, they see the photo, they ask the
It's a
question.
conversation piece, and you get to talk about something you love.
Exactly, as opposed to the big trophy case hidden in the basement that no one's gonna see, right?
Oh, it was in the basement. Yeah, okay. Sorry.
Well, actually,
Details
uh,
matter. All
it
about
was, yeah,
context.
it was in a big office in the basement, yes.
Okay,
So
yeah. No, I thought she had them displayed like in her living room or her office, or
no, no.
something like that, right? But if it is, yeah, then really, but there's attachment is such a funny animal, right? And I cannot imagine, um because there's two things. We have a saying in Spanish that the one that lives singing, the one that stays crying, right? And what it means is, when choice is of your own making,
Mm.
letting go is easier, right? Because it's your decision, right? It's your individuation, it's your sovereignty, independence. But when it is thrusted upon you, either by, fate or God forbid, a family, a death in the family, or
Mhm.
a divorce that you were not the one that started it, or economic, hardship, that's got to be harder, because then you're not just letting go, you are capitulating, you are
Mhm.
surrendering,
Mhm.
it's so it's more complicated. Like, I give you kudos, because I know, and we were speaking about these, by the way, anybody that really wants to get to know us, Renee's the nicer one of the two of us, because we were speaking of social intelligence and emotional intelligence, and being able to empathize, it's your emotional intelligence, but being able to make sure they feel understood is that social intelligence.
Mm. Mhm.
So when you're helping people, I remember speaking to you about a lady that, I don't know if we both know her, because at one point, there's so many stories, I can't remember which one's which, but you were telling me that you were speaking with someone that was downsizing after the death of a partner. And they said, how do you downsize memories?
Mm.
I'm like,
Mhm.
ouch, right? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
so is
Mhm.
so individual, the experience.
Mhm. Well, the other thing too that we come across is that a lot of folks, I mean, again, talking about the home being your major anchor, and we got lots to cover. So we're going to wrap up the home really quick here, but only to say that, if you're living in a home where you're only using, and this is very common, you're only using 30 to 40% of your home because, you know, it's an empty nest, and really, well, I encourage people to think that through, because obviously our lives change, but our homes stay the same size.
Yeah.
And we're paying to heat and to cool and to insure and to clean, the 60% that we're not using. So we call those ghost rooms, so the
Mhm.
bigger the ghost footprint you have, the more money that's flying out the window. But this whole right sizing topic, again, as I said, we start with the home, and then people start to get this lift, this lightness about them. It's like, oh, this feels good when you've let go of all the stuff that's no longer serving the life you are today, the life you have today, right? And you said, oh, what else in my life can I declutter, right? So we talked about the guest room. Now let's talk about the guest list.
Ooh,
So are there some, I know, right? Are
well
there some
done.
are there some legacy friendships that, that we have in our lives that are sucking us dry? We only stay in this friendship because of history. Or, Carolina, can you think of some situations in your life where, maybe an edit of the tribe might be a good
Oh
idea?
my word. So, that is more of my area of discovery. And I find, when you say sucking dry, I want to make sure that I make a distinction, that we make a distinction, because there's people that are sucking you dry because they're using you, right? Especially in
Mm.
the legacy, they're using you, and you are either, an enabler, or I don't know, there's other issues, another episode.
Mm.
And there are those that the result is you sucking yourself dry. They don't mean it, but by you staying somewhere that you've outgrown just because it's comfortable, is
Mm.
sucking you dry. So, to your point, and I'm going, as I said, last year, you got to read my book. Last year was just such a year. Talk about ghosts, right? Like, it wasn't just the home, it was everything. Everything became a ghost to me as I really began to close the door on a chapter of my life where I ended up being, I was no longer a wife. I was no longer a mother. Well, I'm still a mother, but you know what I mean? My son's 30. So trust me, there's no mother in there. And I found myself going back leaning back to a group of friends that were childhood friends,
Hmm.
right? And I'm not from here. I'm a new Canadian. So it means, friends that are home, right? And they literally meant home to me. But I found something interesting. In the process of going back, there were two things happened. One group was just part of the group was just happy, to let's get to know each other again, right? Like, let's what are you up to, and oh, funny. And it was almost like having a new friend in an old friend.
Mhm.
And those are great, right? Because it just, I don't know, they're warm and fuzzy and they're lovely and I love them. And but there was another side that it's almost like we were frozen in time. Like anytime we got together, we didn't get to be the person we are, but a magical moment 30, 40, 50 years ago, right? And it feels good, especially if you're not feeling good. It feels good,
Mhm.
right? It's like
Are those
seeing
those
pictures of you at your best, but
are those remember when conversations? Like, is that
it's
what you're
more than
talking about?
that. It is more than that. It's almost like you begin to embody the person you were, right? They
Oh.
bring that out in you. And it happens not just with friends or
Mhm.
platonic friendships, it happens with your family. When I visit home, my older siblings sometimes treat me like I'm 12 again or 15
Mhm.
again,
Mhm.
right? Like, it's not just that.
Mhm.
But the danger is it becomes a little bit of escapism, and it's not letting you move forward, right? And it's a great place to visit. It's a dangerous place to pitch tent.
Yes, I would say, and kudos on you for really recognizing that. Whoa, this is feeling good, but you know what? I'm getting uh, wooed into my past, maybe. Um,
Yeah, and it can really mess. It's almost like a virtual reality, right? And this is almost a little bit, and it happens to everyone. That's why old flames light up so fast, right?
mhm.
Because it's even more dangerous than AI, in my opinion. Because AI, yes, you can manipulate it, but it still have flaws. It's not personal.
How did we
When
get into AI when we're talking
well,
about
well,
decluttering?
actually, you and I were speaking about AI before, and we are speaking of it. Actually, a little detour, back to point, is that a lot of people, when they're feeling that reckoning, that awakening, that, because, by the way, the right sizing begins in the mind when it's by choice. It
Mhm.
ends in the home. It ends hopefully in some kind of like true physical metamorphosis and transformation, but it begins in the mind, like everything else,
Mhm.
right?
Absolutely.
So the danger with AI and right sizing and all those transformation emotions is that, yeah, AI is clunky, and it is the best of humanity, the worst of humanity. We were talking about that earlier. But when you go back to a person, when you go back to that old flame, when you go back to that old platonic crush, when you go back to I don't know, right? Like, whatever you want to, you move back home with your parents, or, like, you know what I mean? When you go back to people that then begin to, because they know you and they remember you and they're pushing
Mhm.
buttons that
Mhm.
are real.
It's like eating comfort food in a way.
It's like breaking your diet and binging on junk. Yeah, emotional
Oh,
junk.
okay. Well, that's a great segue into another area that people can right size and again get closer to that prime life, the
Mhm.
life that they want to curate and design is that invisible attic. And in the
Tell me about
invisible,
that. I love the terminology. I haven't heard
yes,
you use it before.
in the invisible attic, this is where we store things like, um, well, I'm guilty of this one, a cluttered desktop on my computer. This is where we have 50,000 digital photos in, this cloud and on my phone and on my computer that are just not organized. This is where we have 20 subscriptions that you have that you belong to that you don't use, or it's
When you
just
got
now.
5 of the same pictures on your phone.
Pardon?
When you have 5 of the same pictures on your phone.
Exactly. And there's software that once you have all of your photos into one folder, there's software that can go through and just check, oh, these 5 are the same, delete, delete, delete. So this digital noise, right, is something that steals or eats away at our mental bandwidth. So that's another reason why, to feel lighter and freer, closer to our goal of feeling free, is to just unload this stuff. So that's another area of our life that we want to
What did you
right
call it?
size.
The virtual attic?
The invisible
The
attic.
invisible attic. But you're saying something really powerful there, because if you're a creative and have ADHD tendencies, not anyone um when you open my desktop, I mean, it is a zoo. Like, it almost reaches out and grabs you, right? But I'm okay. When I'm not okay is when I clean and I organize. If you ever see me cleaning and organizing, you know that I'm not okay.
You're not,
So
because that's a coping strategy. Like when you're organizing, it's like you're going through a rough time, and that's how you keep your
because
cool.
my world's out of control, so then you need to control,
Mm.
right? So all I'm saying is, when you're downsizing and right sizing, because we used to use right sizing in corporate all the time, right?
Mm.
In my
Mhm.
From my CFO, CHRO heydays. I don't know if they were heydays, but they were days. Um, Anytime we mention right sizing a budget, right sizing your workforce, right
Mm.
sizing whatever, right? It it very rarely ended up in happy endings. It was the
Yeah.
right thing to do, but there's a huge cost that comes with it. And
Mhm.
I do
Trimming.
want to touch on that, because when you're thinking right sizing, and listen, I love Renee. She's one of my best friends. She's a business partner. She's a partner in crime. So yes, I'm plugging her, but I'm plugging her for a reason. I'm extremely discerning. If I have 4 friends that I call true friends, I know a lot of people, but there's very few people that get past the gates, right? And I am telling you, if the process of right sizing, you gotta do it with a mentor. You have to do it with a holding hand, because it means there's such a sacrifice. It's not an easy thing. It's a necessary thing,
Mhm.
but it's not an easy thing. And I would
Mhm.
not suggest anyone to try it alone,
Mhm.
or with someone very dear to you. You got to work with a professional,
Uh,
whether
uh,
it's a
uh,
career right sizing, whether it's a home right sizing, whatever you're doing. Pick
mhm.
pick the or a doctor for if you're right
Mhm.
sizing your
Mhm.
waistline, right?
Mhm.
Like, doing it alone or doing it with people that have zero interest in seeing you change is a
Ah.
bad idea.
Yes, and that's a really wonderful distinction, or a way to discern, because we all have that kind of friend that is brutally honest. They'll say, "What are you wearing that for?" Right? And that's the kind of friend where I could think of my friend Kelly. If I hold up a sweater that, do you think I should hold on to this? And she'll just roll her eyes and say, "Girl, get it in that box," right? So if you have a friend like that, that's really honest with you, and as you said, yeah, sees where you're wanting to go, that intended life that you're wanting to curate for yourself, it's good to have that person there. But oftentimes, we're probably right sizing with our kids, if we're older, and we've got our adult daughter here helping us out, and that can get a little sticky. So exactly, oftentimes it is a great idea to call in an expert. I know when we work with people, I'm not the one right sizing beside them. We have professionally trained people to do that, but you tend to get a lot more done, and at your pace. But you're right. There's that, you still feel seen and heard, and your memories are
Validated.
yes, yes, yes,
It may
exactly.
be a poopy life, but it's my life and it's the only one I've got, right?
That's
So for
right.
someone to come in and dismiss it and trample it and, foo-foo at it, like,
No.
screw you. Oh,
That's right.
sorry.
It needs to
That
be
was a little more violent than I
no,
intended it
no.
to be.
No, no. Boy, the right side is getting us a little hot under the collar here. Okay. So last area, and we're going to wrap this up real quick. Last area, if you can believe it, is to right size our ego. Okay. Yes. So
Okay.
what this is, are you holding on to an old title? Are you walking around with a title from the 90s, like I'm the former VP of this? Or maybe you have a label, like
Mm.
in my family, I'm the label I have is the family shrink, right? So for the last, I don't know, 20, 30 years, if someone's life has hit a snag, I'm the one that they call. So I'm thinking, you know what, I'd like to shed that title. I don't need to be, or label, I don't need to be chief problem solver. You know what I'd like to be?
I don't know. I think it depends. In politics and in diplomacy, you always call people the highest rank they ever held, whether they hold it now or not, right? Professionally, um, for the right context, I believe that using the proper titles or at least accreditations matters, especially now in the age of AI, right? You want to be able to know who's got the goods from, from the oracle, and who's got, just asking their digital chatbot. Um, but
This
those,
this is more though an old
you're speaking
identity.
almost identity,
Yeah,
an
that you're
identity.
anchored in.
But that goes with the same with nicknames. Back to my group of five. Um, the Scooby, the Scooby Gang. We still call each other nicknames that are biblical. Like there's not biblical literally, but in age, in
Mhm,
carbon
mhm.
dating, that nobody in this world calls us that, right? So shedding, you mean shedding personas, shedding
Yes.
identities that way.
Yes.
Um, and
That
it's
are like a
not,
heavy overcoat,
but
you
is
know?
that really ego driven?
Look, I don't have a degree in psychology. All I'm saying is if you're walking around like you're, the role that you played in the last 30 years, and this is a role that you think it's time to shed, now would be the time to do it. So when your family calls you with that problem, or you know what? Hey guys,
Oh,
maybe
I see. Okay, fair enough. If I see what you sorry, I see what you mean. Like if
curating a
you are,
simpler life.
because sometimes people give you those titles um out of there's a secondary gain, right? If we keep saying, well, Renee's great at organizing parties because we want Renee to keep organizing the party, right?
Right.
I hear you. I hear you. I'm just not certain. And I think this is, given the hour, I think this is a great topic for a future episode to really is really about the I am, right? Like how are you identifying yourself and why? And how current is that script?
That exactly. How current is it? What is the life I'm living today? What is the
Mhm,
intended life I want? What is the gap, right? How do
mhm.
we bridge the gap? And and the great thing about having a right sizing mindset is just it's time to clear the clutter in all areas of our life, And again, many times it starts in the home. So my challenge to our wonderful listeners and to me and to you is there something in the next couple of days that you can edit from your life, that you can right size from your life, whether it's, I don't know, maybe,
I'm hanging up right now.
okay, yeah,
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
maybe you're unsubscribing from a subscription or something, or, maybe you've got uh, you cancel a no obligation coffee with your vampire friend
Ooh,
or something
these
like
are
that.
like golden nuggets for future episodes. So yes, I'll take you up on the challenge. And as I said, I am moving. I have a 12-month plan that will result in my spending 2 months in the glorious beaches of El Salvador as a result of the right sizing my life. So stay tuned. Renee and I are documenting the entire process. And I need to put my mouth where my money where my mouth is. My mouth is not going anywhere.
And I hope I'm the first one that gets to film you on the beach in El Salvador.
Oh, you are so. I was thinking that actually, as I was shopping for places to stay, I'm thinking, you know what, Renee needs to come here for like a week or two. So
I would do that. All right. Well,
loving spending another episode with you guys. Thank you. We received such great feedback for our first show. Please do let us know what you like, what you don't like, any topics you would like to see. And I think, Renee, you are absolutely fabulous. And thank you for always telling me the truth. You are my disappointment panda, which we'll discuss in books you need to read, from The Art of Not Giving a Fluff. You always tell me the truth, and I know it, it comes from the heart. And for all those friends that keep egging me on to do wonderful and to just give me lovely feedback, please keep on giving me lovely feedback.
we need those friends too.
I am good with that.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Until next time, guys. See you later.
Until next time. Bye.